From a man who used the internet to post messages while time traveling, to a man who found his future self, we count 5 people who claim to be time travelers. Number 5. John Titor. Originally known as the online alias timetravel_0, this mysterious traveller from the year 2032 first made contact with the world at large in the Time Travel Institute forums on November 2nd, 2000. This elusive figure was later reported to be a US soldier going by the name John Titor, sent to the past in order to recover a copy of an IBM 5100 computer from the year 1975. Supposed to be used as a way to debug several legacy issues with future computers. The soldier claimed that he traveled to 1975 in a C204 time displacement unit that was, as he stated, a stationary mass temporal displacement unit powered by 2 topspin dual positive singularities, leaving various messages on online boards warning of an upcoming civil war in the USA, a nuclear attack by Russian forces, and whispers of an inevitable World War III. John Titor was allegedly in the year 2001 in order to procure items of personal significance that were lost in future events. He described his presence as a stopover of sorts, no different to how passengers wait in airports during exchanges, the only difference being that instead of a terminal, his was a temporal time shift. He explained that the Everett Wheeler-Graham or multiple world theory allowed for the creation of an infinite number of scenarios and outcomes that coincided in tandem to one another. That is to say, anything is possible. It is this theory that keeps the legend of John Titor alive. Was he simply a myth, or was there some truth to his legend? One that takes place in another world similar to our own? Only one thing is certain: time will tell. Number 4. Andrew Carlson. Andrew Carlson was an alleged time traveller who changed a measly $800 into a formidable $350 million fortune through the power of time travel. Risking several high-stakes stock trades over the course of 2 weeks, Carlson was able to succeed in over 125 stock gambles. With such unprecedented success, it's no wonder that this amateur caught the eye of the FBI and Security and Exchange Commission. An unnamed source within the SEC claimed that there was no way that Carlson would have been able to pull off such a daring feat legally, stating that the only way he could pull it off is with illegal inside information. He's going to sit in a jail cell on Rikers Island until he agrees to give up his sources. Upon entering into the investigation, Carlson's claims of time travel from 200 years into the future were considered to be irreputable at best. Carlson added that it was just too tempting to resist. I had planned to make it look natural, lose a little here and there so it doesn't look too perfect. But it seems as if Carlson's ledger was a little too clean for the authorities. However, it should be noted that there are no known records referring to Andrew Carlson prior to December 2002, and the 3 years following the investigation in 2003. Now living in Toronto, Carlson waved off questions on his investigation, saying, "The authorities and I came to a mutual understanding, and I was released to leave the country." When he finally resurfaced, working on projects with an undisclosed oil company, Carlson refused to comment on his missing years between 2004 and 2007, stating that timing is everything, and everything happens in time. I am here now, so this is my time. Number 3. Anne Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain. In 1901, Oxford academics Anne Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain claimed to have been transported back in time to 1792 while walking through the palace gardens in Versailles, France. During their time, Moberly reportedly sketched a woman sitting within the palace grounds, who they would later discover, upon their return to England, to be none other than the French Queen, Marie Antoinette. The couple's surprise following this revelation was not to be the only disconcerting act found within that fateful day. The two reportedly said that at some point during their wanderings within the gardens, that everything suddenly looked unnatural, therefore unpleasant. Even the trees seemed to become flat and lifeless, like wood worked in tapestry. There were no effects of light and shade, and no wind stirred the trees. The two parted ways upon returning to England, both with reservations about the experience. Through mailed correspondence, we know that they later wrote to each other concerning the event and debated the possibility that the gardens might be haunted, a sentiment to which Jourdain agreed. Following these transactions, they later met and compared notes on what each believed to have transpired during their time in Versailles, and agreed upon the need for further study on the subject. What they found did little to quell their fears, as on the 10th of August 1792, the day in question, they found that the palace was besieged and all guards massacred, an event that proved a precursor to the fall of the monarchy itself. Their accounts were later recorded and released to the public under the pen names Miss Morrison and Miss Lamont in their collaborative best-selling novel, An Adventure. Number 2. Håkan Nordkvist. 36-year-old Håkan Nordkvist claimed that on August 30th, 2006, he found himself talking to a future version of himself in the year 2042. The man claimed that after he investigated a strange pool of water on his kitchen floor, he crawled inside the cabinet that hid the leak and found himself able to crawl fully into the space. After entering the cabinet, he said that, "In the end of the tunnel I saw a light, and when I got there, I realized I was in the future." Once entering this perceived future, Håkan claimed to have seen his 72-year-old self. After a brief exchange, Håkan stated that this older man was able to recall where he had hidden things during his first grade, and that the two men even appeared to share the same tattoo. Håkan stated that upon seeing his future self, there were several physical changes that the man would look forward to, most notably being an increase in his height by a few inches. Even though the 36-year-old had the presence of mind to take a selfie with his future self, it apparently slipped his mind to photograph anything else from the strange event. Number 1. Sir Victor Goddard. In 1935, the Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard, a senior commander in the British Royal Air Force during the Second World War, was said to have encountered a strange storm during a flight over the run-down and abandoned airfield in Jourdain, just outside Edinburgh. The commander quickly made an effort to right his plane and narrowly avoided a crash before exiting the storm. What he found upon his exit has remained a mystery ever since. The commander reported to have seen the same abandoned airfield, but in a state no longer of disrepair, but of use. He said that 5 planes sat on the tarmac below, 4 yellow planes and what he described as an unidentified monoplane. Most intriguing of all, however, were the mechanics said to have been working on the re-envisioned airfield, which the commander claimed to be wearing blue uniforms rather than the current brown attire. Upon seeing his officers' disbelief concerning the experience, Goddard kept the situation quiet. 4 years later, the RAF would be using the very planes that Goddard had thought to have seen, and that the uniforms had even changed to his blue specifications. Despite this, it wasn't until the 60s where the senior commander would write about the account firsthand, yet speculation still resides on whether the whole thing was made up, a hallucination brought about by the adrenaline of his experience, or a true case of temporal time travel.